I've had these boards for a couple of years now. Some of it's been sitting out in the yard. Some of it I got from my neighbour when they were doing some renovating. They were pulling apart all those old boards and they were going in the bin. And it didn't sit well with me for them going into landfill, so I jumped in that dumpster and grabbed a whole heap of them. And I'm glad I did. This part's really the awful part of the job, so I'm just using a gas canister, carbon, and another filter on top of that, and another pre-filter. So, because we suspect that there's lead paint on that paint that's probably 60, 70, 80 years old. So I won't talk much. These boards I'm working on right now, I'll talk a bit more about those later in the video, but I got them online using Marketplace and just peeling off all the old paint here. So what we're making here is just a table for my loft study area in our house, and I just wanted to be able to use some of this material and clean it up and see how it works, because I've got a pile of it. I need to use it for something. My experience with getting that paint off, you could either use sanding or use the blowtorch here, which I find a better technique. It seems to crumble off a lot easier. If you go straight to sanding, it seems to gum up the sanding discs, and just it's very time consuming. So a bit of heat and a scraper or a chisel, like I'm just using an old chisel, and it seems to crumble away. And I still got to sand it after that. But by the time you've got the bulk of that paint off, sanding's a lot easier then. So these boards I estimate to be probably between 90 and 100 years fitted. They come from a street in Townsville, a city I used to live in, Armstrong Street, and I bought a whole stack of them for about $100. And of course they've got multiple layers of paint on them. The old style of paint with the new style of vinyl paints on top of them, or latex paints. But yeah, so I used to live on Armstrong Street, right next to the house that I got these boards from in the mid-1980s. Anyway, so I love getting some old stuff and making something new out of it. I think that's something worthwhile. All that work it took to get all that rotten old paint off is painful, but in the end that work's sort of forgotten, and you're left with something that's lasting and gives you pleasure. Oh, better get on with it. I'm just running one side of the plank through the jointer there to get a nice flat straight surface, then I'll run the other side through the table saw to get the parallel side. Hey. I'm sorry for the bad light in here. I've only got 2 lights. Maybe I could open the screen door over there, but I'm going to rip these boards to size now. Parallel sides, I'm going to run this through a sander, to drum sander. So just to get the right height here. Okay, let's get it going. just hit a couple of nails. You little rotter. And that's why I was using the drum sander there to reduce the thickness, because if I took it over to the planer over there, I'd just be chipping out the blades and making a mess. Now I've got the edges all straightened out, I'll just line these up and just match my edges as best I can. Just showing you the finish from the drum sander there at 120 grit. So it's not a bad finish really. It gets everything nice and flat. Alright, let's get this glued up. There's a good amount of glue squeeze out there, so good coverage, should be a good bond. I was about to use my saw, but there's some really nice bird sounds outside. I'm going to move on to making the legs now. I'm going to cut them out first. So I'm going to use a little bit in between these two here. It's got some beauty screw holes through here. So yeah, kind of got to work out what I need, where I'm going to use it. Otherwise I'm going to got damage on the side of the leg. Don't want that. This tabletop is ready for the glue to be cleaned up, so I'm just going to give it a scrape. After removing the glue, you can see all these the old defects, the old nail holes everywhere. So what I'm going to try and do is just clean them up a little bit, like all that putty, remove the putty, and I'm going to get some clear epoxy and put a little bit of black tint in it and try and fill the holes, all the nastiness. And you're never going to disguise it, but just try my best, you know, make it look alright, make it sort of have a flat top without without a million holes in it. So to do that, I don't want all the epoxy running through the holes and onto the ground, so I'm going to flip it over and just mask up the holes underneath here, and just put a bit of tape on the... I'll just put the tape over, and that way I'll block the holes. That's a bit of wood filler in there, and it's going to look horrible on the bench top. So here we go, 2 to 1, so I don't need much resin. Let's just go, I'm going to go probably 2 lots of this. 1, 2, so 10 mils. And now with a different syringe, I'll get 5 mils of the Part B, the hardener. Away I go. Off and running. A little bit of dye in here, so I just need a tiny amount of dye. Let's go that much. So you can see. This part actually took quite a while to do. I made several batches of resin to fill all the holes, because you put resin in and the resin disappears down into the cracks, and so then you make more. And then it sort of settles again, and then you make more. So it took a couple of hours to get this right. It's been a couple of days, so I'm just going to hit these high spots with the orbital sander. So far it's turning out better than I anticipated. I was kind of expecting this big weep to sort of alter the characteristics of the timber underneath the epoxy fill, but it's okay. I'll keep persevering with it. I'm just going to make sure that I'm sanding this flat, not creating all these hollows. I've been sanding away, and I'm at the stage now where I can cut the taper in the legs that I'm after. But you know what? I've got a CNC machine. Maybe I can take it over to there, because I was contemplating making a taper jig for the table saw, but I haven't got any toggle clamps. I'll have to make some. So maybe I've got a CNC. Why not use it? I'll just take you into the computer and I'll just show you what I mean. Now there's my drawing. It's making legs now. Hey, look, I know there's a lot of people that boo-hoo the CNC machines, and there's quite a learning curve and quite an investment of time. I think it's worth it. I enjoy this sort of thing, and I'm not a real woodworker anyway. I'm a jack of all trades, but I like to experiment with different products, different ideas, and sometimes a machine like this really helps me to do that. So anyway, that's enough of me talking. Let me just get zeroed in and set up here. I think one of the things that you'd sort of pick up on when you start doing your CNC work is the efficiency of material usage. When you haven't got much materials to start with, you can really sort of nest it quite tightly, and you make maximum use out of what you've got. Now that I've got all my pieces cut out, pretty much anyway, and mostly cleaned up, I'm going to join them together. I'm going to use dowels. I thought it best to make a right angle jig here because of the shapes that I've got aren't exactly square on their cut, so this helps me keep it straight in line with the drill bit in the drill press. I'm going to give myself every chance to get this as straight as I can, and as lined up as I can. I am actually using these little center finders. I made these on my metal lathe, so they've got a little point. You can buy them from the store, like these ones here, for dowels. So I'm using those, putting them in the hole. I just want to make sure that, so once I get it to the right plane, just push. And those marks are pretty bang on anyway. For the lower rail, I'm just going to drill this through from underneath at this angle, because it's too thin to add the two that I was originally planned. So it won't twist around a single dowel through there. So with that decided, I'm going to now finally glue up this top one here, and then once that's glued up I can put my dowels through the bottom. I've made a little jig here to help me with that. just trying to work out attaching this runner on the side underneath the table. I'm going to use these screws, they're M6 screws. And so I've just got to mark off where I want this drill bit. It's going to be about that deep. Let's go for that depth. Using the 8mm now, let's drill that center hole. Got these long rails here and these side supports here. I'm going to attach these by drilling 2 holes, 2 screws in each side. Just got to set this up right in the middle, so I've worked out the length of this top and the length of this and got the space left over, and then I'm dividing that in 2, and that should be right. And if it isn't, I'll eat my hat. It's right, don't have to eat my hat. I find these threaded inserts much better than just using ordinary screws. You use a machine screw to tap into here, and but you have to recess it a little bit. So I'm just using that rotten old blunt Forstner bit to drill down about a millimetre. So the head of this insert can sit flush below the surface. Now to drill the depth on the tabletop there, I'm going to put it on the drill press here, and I've just set the depth so I don't drill through the whole thing. That would be disastrous. So let's get that going. So it's got its own threads on there, and you just got to screw it in. Square. Okay. So it's below the surface, perfect. Just going to tidy up some of this little mismatch on the surface here. Now I'm just drilling some holes to add some dowels for the leg attachments. And I'm just going to use dowels for the legs. I'm just going to use the same technique I've done before. I've got these little alignment pins, and I've only got 2 of these. You can always make some more, but I'll just set it up and gently mark it off. Now I'm not going to take this over to the drill press, it's too awkward a shape, but I was watching one of Robin Lewis's videos the other day, Robin Lewis makes, and he used a guide like this to set himself up to get a nice straight hole. I think simplicity is best, so let's do it that way. It's all a dry fit up at this stage. That's good.
Happy am I, happy am I, happy am I, happy am I, happy am I.
I'll come back tomorrow and I'm going to make a runner to brace these two across. Otherwise it'll be a bit of a wobbly table. And do all my sanding and all the finishing work. Just gonna take me some beauty shots. For the leg braces, I went into my timber pile and I found this lovely piece of roach wood. I think this was used in a bathroom, I guess, in its previous life. Well, it cleaned up okay. Sorry if you see a nasty gash on my hand. It's from the drill press, not whilst it was running. No. This sharp bit was under there and I just reached underneath it. Wasn't running. And the point of the drill got me. It's kind of like the moment of truth now. I'm going to put these braces in. I'm confident, kind of. Now that I've used these, I'm regretting putting these screws in, so maybe I can countersink them in and put a little wooden dowel insert in there. It's not cheating. Got this split on both sides of the table down through here, so I'm going to. Never ever have I done a bow tie before. I'm going to add some of these little guys in there. Oh, now take this over to the CNC and get it to do the work for me. But remember, I made this so this can come apart. It's got one screw here to undo on either side, and boom, that top comes off, makes it more portable. And then this whole leg assembly can just come apart if I ever need to move it. Let's glue this in. So I'm just using this. This is like a I don't know what you call it, a eyelash straightener, but they're great for glue. So let me just see if I can just chuck a bit of this glue in here. I mean, you can use a little paintbrush or whatever you want, but these you can buy like a pack of hundreds for $5 or something. Paintbrushes are more expensive. I'm just adding a bit of a round over to all the parts, just a very small radius. Excuse me. I don't need no stinking IKEA store. A great advantage of this design is that it disassembles and reassembles fairly quickly and flat packs down. So if you do have to move, relocate, it's not a big deal, and it's nice and solid, sturdy once it's all together. For the finish, I decided to use some tung oil and just rub it in, and it actually soaks into the timber quite a bit. I chose it because it gives a nice soft sheen to the timber, a natural look, and then you can finish off on top of that with a bit of wood butter or some tung oil wax finish and give it a buff. It comes up real nice. I'm just putting a finishing coat on now with that wax tung oil finish. Just rub it in and then buff it out, and it comes up with that nice, that soft sheen, natural finish that you're after. And after it was all finished and you could sit back, I was pretty happy that I persevered with that old reclaimed timber with all the holes in it, and it turned out quite nice. I'm probably going to put a couple more coats of wax on this and give it a good hard buff, but I've got to go travelling the next couple of days. This is the first maker project I've done for a long while in the shed. Most of my projects have been doing something for the house or for the workshop, or doing drainage, boring stuff, really off-grid stuff, and that's kind of fun too. But I've enjoyed this project because it's got me back into the workshop here, and I want to do a lot more of it. Well, it's not perfect, but I think it'll make a good addition to my loft up there where I can put my computer on this. Hey, thank you for watching if you got this far. I really appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up if you like the video. If you don't, just that's okay. I'd love to see you in the comments. Thanks again. We'll love to see you on the next one.